tell me about your vision.
Well, my vision is a world where each of us are feeling inspired, connected, and empowered, and a world of greater spiritual intelligence. If you look at our world today, human cognitive intelligence, or IQ, has got landed us on the moon, deciphered the genome, split the atom. We developed AI that's smarter than many of us, including myself. We have emotional intelligence that lots of people know about and are working on, that have connected us to our emotions. We're more aware. We can manage our emotions better. But still, the world is very chaotic and problematic. Anxiety, depression rates are soaring. Substance abuse, addiction, suicide rates are soaring. There's a loneliness epidemic. There's political polarization, wars, environmental concerns. So something is missing. And I think what is missing is an understanding and appreciation of our spiritual intelligence. And that's the third missing piece that we need individually and collectively as a society. So my vision is a world where more of us are awakened to our inherent potential of our spirit essence, our life force energy, and can actualize it, where we understand our interconnectedness. And this is when we feel most fulfilled, most empowered, most connected, and we do good for ourselves and the world around us.
Well, tell me more about that. Like how and why, like this is what is all it's a lot of things I'm familiar with, most of it I'm not. So
Okay.
in the chaotic world where like AI is coming to an extent where the knowledge we hold as humans when it comes to information would be probably obsolete because there's going to be ways to get more and more knowledge. And how do you come into play into all this? So I'm very curious.
Well, that's a good point. Exactly. So when some of the things that differentiated us get as humans get automated with AI and with robots, we have to leverage things that are unique to us. And that's actually when spiritual intelligence becomes more important. So you say, well, what is spiritual intelligence? So a lot of people have heard about emotional intelligence. So I'll just explain it as an analogy. What is emotional intelligence? The ability to draw on emotional resources and information to help manage emotions in ourselves and others. So what is spiritual intelligence? Spiritual intelligence is the ability to draw on, embody spiritual qualities and resources in daily life. So he said, what are these spiritual resources and qualities? These are things like purpose, service, gratitude, joy, beauty, trust, humility, integrity, intuition, things like that. These are the qualities that through my doctoral research, interviewing 71 teachers across all the world's traditions, from Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, shamanism, are common. Regardless of their theology and cosmology, they're talking about the value of compassion and forgiveness and integrity and humility. So it's these abilities to embody these qualities in daily life, in our work meetings, in our meetings with friends and family, and how we drive on the freeway, and how we do shopping in the supermarket. So spiritual intelligence is different from spiritual belief. Like, I believe in God, I believe in reincarnation or whatever, which is nice. Or I can have a spiritual experience. I could be meditating, I could be walking in the forest, and all of a sudden my ego dissolves. I feel one with everything. There's no separation. That's a beautiful spiritual experience. But spiritual intelligence, how do I embody these realizations in my daily life to express these qualities that I just mentioned, where the rubber meets the road in how we live?
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say is the why of what you do this? Like, why you do this, Yoshi? Why? What gets you out of bed every morning to keep doing what you do? Why are you on the podcast talking about all this?
Well, this is my calling. This is my passion to awaken greater spiritual intelligence in myself and the world. That's why I started this nonprofit, awakeningspiritualintelligence.org. And it's really the result of my lifelong journey, which started in the Israeli military, where I had the fastest promotion record in the history of my regiment, won all these awards. Luckily, it was a peaceful time, but the military command and control model chafed at my soul, and I resolved to someday build an organization that inspires the best in people and brings out the best in actualizing each individual. And that led me to then start two tech companies in Silicon Valley that I was fortunate enough to take public. But, in the midst of all of that, I also had an experience called the dark night of the soul, and that led me to a spiritual awakening, that where I realized our interconnectedness and that we are part of one web of life, one reality. And that blew the circuits of my mind. It also got me pushed out of the company I started. I was the CEO of a public company, and um, I couldn't contain this energy of awakening, the kundalini, the sense of oneness. And my board pushed me out. It was very embarrassing, shameful experience. The headline stories in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, was like I became emotionally unstable and so on. And all the people that were seeking my company stopped corresponding to me and returning my emails and my phone calls. But that led me to try to understand, was this real? Was this delusion, this experience of our interconnectedness? And that's what got me to go and do a PhD in psychology and the interface of spirituality and psychology. And that's how I came across this concept of spiritual intelligence, and did the research to define it, and then how to academically validate its measurement, and then show that leaders that have higher spiritual intelligence are get inspired and then inspire people around them. And then they lead teams with higher commitment, greater morale, lower turnover. Other follow-on research has shown that those leaders produce better financial results for their organizations. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win for the individual. People with greater spiritual intelligence have better mental health, better resilience, better quality of life. They're also more productive. They feel connected to themselves. They feel connected to other people. And in a world where we're feeling this loneliness epidemic, this polarization, I think this is a key antidote of what we need individually for our mental health and quality of life and fulfillment, and what we need societally and in our families. So many families are suffering because there's this polarization. One person votes this way, and the other person votes this way, and they can't agree, and they can't listen to each other, and there's all this animosity and either or thinking. So that's why I'm passionate about it, because I think it's what's needed for us individually and collectively.
So when you talk about the oneness, um, of everyone being part of one thing, what do you mean by that?
Okay, that's great. That's a good question. Something you might hear people that are spiritual say, "Oh, we're all one." Well, I think it's not exactly like that. If you look at my hand, there's this pinky finger and this thumb. Well, they're one hand, right? But they're not the same. Thank God, each finger has its job, and it's a good thing I have a thumb that acts differently than the pinky or the other fingers. Now, you can think about the human body. There are many trillions of cells, and each cell is unique. It has a cell membrane. It has to keep its integrity. It has its immune system that keeps it alive. But it's also part of an organ, whether it's the kidney or the liver or the thyroid. It has a function within the organ. And then the organ is embedded in the organism. And the organism has to function. Each cell has to do its job within the organ, within the organism. So the cell has to worry about its individual survival and functioning and integrity, but also has to worry about contributing to the overall organism. If the cell keeps itself alive, but the organism gets cancer, eventually the cell uh, dies. So the same is with us. Now, each cell in the human body has the same DNA, and it comes from the same stem cell, but it differentiates and takes on a unique role, a unique function. So it is with us. Each of us are part of this one web of life, but we're each endowed with our unique talents, gifts, and superpowers. It's like we have our own unique instrument that we've been granted by life. And we want to play as part of this beautiful symphony, part of this bigger organism of life that we're a part of. So we are one, but we're not the same. We're one and we're uniquely individual. Am I making any sense?
to to some extent. So when it comes to a single cell, right, I can feel, I can touch, and I can experience it in real life because it's there, right? But when you talk about life in sense of a bigger, like a bigger picture, bigger living breathing organism, like what do you mean by that, as me being part of that?
Well, look at the web of life that is happening right now. The way it looks, if I look at the plant on my desk right now, you can't see it, but there's a green plant on my desk. There's trees, green trees outside. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day here. Now I'm going to inhale. I'm drawing in oxygen. Where did that oxygen come from? It's the exhale of the plant, of the trees. Now I'm going to exhale, and I'm exhaling carbon dioxide. And that's the inhale of the plant and the tree. So the trees and the plants and I are in this symbiotic relationship where we are one part of larger web of life. That is, I don't have a separate existence. I couldn't exist without the trees and the plants and the oxygen that's in the atmosphere, and the earthworms that are in the earth, and all of the way life connects us all. Well, the farmers, producing the food and whatever. So the way it looks from the common human mind is like we're all separate individual entities, like a billiard ball or whatever, like that are all distinct and have distinct boundaries, and we have nothing to do with each other. But we need to understand this is kind of a Copernican revolution of consciousness that happens when we realize this. Like up until Copernicus and Galileo, we believe that the earth is at the center of the universe, and the stars and the sun rotate around it, right? Because that's how it looks through the day. You see the sun move across the sky, but then they realize, no, it's the other way around. The earth comes out of the sun and is sustained by the sun's energy for all life. So this is a Copernican revolution, is when we understand our interconnectedness, even though from the egoic mindset, I'm a skin encapsulated ego. All I am is this body, and it's bounded by my skin, and I'm independent from the rest of existence. Well, that's obviously not true. I have no existence on my own without Mother Earth. I have no life. I have no life without the sun feeding the energy that grows all the food and sustains this planet. So that's what I mean. We're part of a web of life.
Okay, and from all that knowledge, then what?
Well, then, like a cell in the human body, I can't just selfishly think about what's good for me. I have to worry about the organism I'm embedded in, because if the organism is sick and gets cancer, then eventually I die. So what this means is that I can't just say, hey, all I care is about how much money I make and how much food I can eat, etc. It's ultimately not fulfilling. So if there's a virus like there was in COVID, it spread through the whole world. It affected all of whatever. If we have global warming and we have these environmental disasters, it affects all of us. So I have to figure out how can I contribute to this overall web of life? If there are wars happening, it's going to affect me. So I have to think more globally and act locally in terms of what are my gifts, and then how can I contribute to the greater whole so that life continues to thrive for many generations, for my children, my grandchildren, and so on.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.